She opened the door of my office without knocking and came in. She stood in front of my desk and looked down at me. I was sitting in my chair with my feet on the desk and reading the sports pages of a newspaper.
"You're a private detective, I believe,"
she said. I took my feet off the desk and put down the newspaper. "That's right."
"Well, I have a job for you."
"Good," I said. "I charge £250 a day, plus expenses."
"Money's no problem."
"Even better," I said. "What's the problem?" During these few seconds, I was looking at her closely. She had beautiful, long red hair and enormous emerald green eyes. She reminded me of a cat I had once. The eyes, not the hair. I also thought I recognized her, but I couldn't remember where from. She was about 27 or 28 and very beautiful. She was wearing a tight green, the same shade as her eyes, sleeveless silk dress. Nothing on top, no coat, no cardigan. We were enjoying a very hot summer in London that year. She was also wearing expensive jewellery, very expensive, the kind many women are prepared to kill for. A gold watch, a ring with a huge emerald surrounded by diamonds on her left hand, a gold bracelet on her right wrist, and 3 loops of the best Australian pearls around her neck. I know quite a lot about jewellery. I know quite a lot about everything that costs a lot of money. It's a hobby of mine. For the same reason, I was also receiving messages from the perfume she was using that day. It was something like the latest perfume, but not the one along with all the other latest of the perfume manufacturers which flood the department stores around Christmas. This was a special made-to-order mix, the kind produced in small quantities for very rich VIPs. I know quite a lot about perfume as well. Definitely, she was the kind of client that I liked to have, and also the kind of client that I needed at that moment.
"Well, the problem, Mr. Boot, is that I have great difficulties in sleeping at the moment."
"Shouldn't you see a doctor, not a detective?" I said.
"No, you see, there's a reason I can't sleep."
"And what is it?" I asked.
"It's a ghost."
"A ghost?"
"Yes, a ghost. A ghost in my house. And 2 or 3 nights a week, about midnight or 1 o'clock, I hear strange noises in the house."
Now, I don't believe in ghosts, but I do believe in rich, beautiful clients. So, I asked her to sit down. While she was doing this, I tried to think of intelligent questions that you can ask about ghosts. "Well, first of all, when did this start?"
"About 3 months ago."
"And where do the noises come from? From which part of the house, I mean? In your bedroom, or—"
"No, not in my bedroom. In fact, quite a long way from my bedroom. It's a very big house, you see. My bedroom is on the 2nd floor. There are 3 floors altogether. All I can be sure of is that the noises come from below where I sleep, not above."
"I see. And have you ever gone down to find out what's going on?"
"Yes, 2 or 3 times. But each time the noise stops a moment or 2 later, while I'm going down the stairs. I've looked into every room on the 1st floor and the ground floor, and everything has been completely normal."
"Curious," I said. "Tell me a little more about the house."
"Well, it's about 350 years old. It's in Surrey, in the country, not far from Sutton. It was built in the second half of the 17th century. Its last owner was my father. He died about a year ago. He left the house to me. He left everything else to me as well.
He was very rich, I presume.
Yes, very. He was Sir Arthur Willing.
Good God! You're Sir Arthur Willing's daughter?
Yes, my name is Selina Willing.
Sir Arthur Willing's daughter. I couldn't believe it. Her photograph was often in the newspapers. Without doubt, she was the kind of client that I needed at that moment. Everybody in England knew who Sir Arthur Willing was. He was 63 when he died, 14 months before his beautiful daughter walked into my office. And for the last 20 or 25 years of his life, he was one of the 10 richest people in the United Kingdom. I knew this because an English newspaper publishes a list once a year of the 1,000 richest people in that year. Sometimes Sir Arthur was number 1 in the list, sometimes number 2 or 3, but always in the top 10. Surprisingly, Sir Arthur was born into a very poor family in a poor part of London. He left school when he was 15 to sell fruit and vegetables in a local street market. But Sir Arthur was one of those rare people who have a gift for business, and also the ambition to get to the top. By the time he was 18, he owned most of the stalls in the market. Then he opened his own import-export business when he was 20. From that time on, he became richer and richer. He bought or founded many more companies and extended his business interests into construction, furniture, insurance, and just about everything else. Sir Arthur was knighted for services to British industry when he was 30. He married when he was 32, and in the following years the couple had 3 children. Selina was first, and then 2 brothers. A few years later, Sir Arthur's wife died. Sir Arthur never remarried. Sir Arthur's favourite child was Selina. She was like her father in many ways. She was a good student and a very hard worker, and she loved her father very much. She helped her father with all his business too. She learnt everything that her father was able to teach her about companies, finances, the stock market, and so on. On the other hand, Sir Arthur's relationship with his 2 sons was never very successful. They were not at all like their father. They were very bad students, very lazy, and only interested in having fun. They escaped from the house as often as they could in the evenings. This was not difficult because their father usually worked late and didn't return home until 11 or 12. The boys went to the cinema or to discotheques or to games parlours. Both went to good universities but failed almost all their examinations and left without taking a degree. Finally, when the boys were 19 and 20, their father lost patience with them. He tore up his will, which was made years before. In this will, all his money and possessions and business interests were left to his 3 children equally. Then he made a new will, which left everything to Selina. Well, except for one little company in Bangkok, in Thailand, which exported hand-carved teak furniture to Britain and other countries. This company did not make a big profit, but enough for his 2 sons, as owner-directors, to earn a living. Of course, when Sir Arthur died and his will became known, The sons reacted badly. They found a solicitor who agreed to defend their interests. A long court case followed. Every day there were articles about it in all the newspapers. Finally, Selina won the case and stayed in possession of all her inheritance. The boys angrily left the family house in Surrey and went to share a tiny rented flat in a not very exclusive part of London. Before Selina left my office that day, I told her that I needed to see her house first. I wanted to look for clues. The next day, I drove to the town of Sutton. I left the car parked and got a taxi. I had directions with me, written by Selina. However, I didn't need them. The taxi driver knew where the Willing mansion was. We left the town and drove into the country. After 15 minutes, we arrived at an enormous stone wall beside the road. We followed this wall for a few minutes until we came to a gate made of iron bars. It was closed, and behind it was a uniformed security guard. I paid the taxi driver and told the security guard that I had an appointment with Miss Willing. While he was telephoning the house, I looked through the bars of the gate. There was a road which led from the gate through some trees. Well, many trees. A wood, in fact. In the distance, I could just see the roof of a large house.
"All right,"
said the security guard.
"Walk up the drive until you reach the house. Oh, and be careful of the tigers."
Be careful of the tigers? He saw the panic in my eyes. He laughed.
"Just my little joke. There are no tigers in the wood. Not at this time, anyway. They're all in their cages behind the house."
Not at this time, anyway? In their cages behind the house? I was beginning to feel that I didn't want to visit this house. But the guard opened the gate, and I went in and walked quickly, very quickly, up that driveway. About 75 yards from the house, the trees stopped. Then there was an open space, a forecourt, and then the house. Magnificent. A real English stately home. In the centre was a huge wooden front door, open, and Selina was standing in the doorway.
Hello,
She said brightly.
how are you today, Mr. Boot?
I needed 3 or 4 seconds to catch my breath. Fine, thanks, I said, surprised. And you? We went into the house, and she offered me some tea or coffee. I said that I wanted to inspect the house first. She took me on a guided tour, first of the ground floor. A living room, at least twice as big as my flat, with a large ornamental marble fireplace in the centre of one wall. A dining room with a dark, polished wooden table, about 10 yards long, in the centre, with chairs around it. The kitchen and the pantry, a room that Selina used as an office, various other smaller rooms. Afterwards we went upstairs to look at the bedrooms and bathrooms on the first floor. We didn't go higher because Selina was sure that the noises came from below where she slept, on the second floor. We returned to the living room, and Selina rang a bell. A pretty little maid, about 18 years old, appeared, and Selina asked for coffee. It arrived almost immediately, and we sat down to talk.
Well, Mr. Boot, any clues? Any ideas?
I confessed that there was nothing strange or suspicious that I could see. Then I asked her if I might sleep in the house for at least one night.
Why not, Mr. Boot? The servants will prepare a bedroom for you on the same floor as mine. Will you come tonight?
I said yes, and at the same moment I remembered the tigers. Tell me, I said, was the security guard joking when he warned me about the tigers?
Well, yes and no,
said Selina.
I do have 5 old tigers in cages just behind the trees at the back of the house. But we only let them out for exercise between 2 and 3 in the mornings.
You let them out?
Well, I don't personally, but one of the gardeners worked in a circus for many years. He lets them out and then puts them back in every night.
How does he put them back in? I wanted to know.
Oh, they're well trained, Mr. Boot. They know that while they are exercising, the gardener puts their dinner in the cages. Half a cow for each one.
Half a cow?
Yes, tigers eat a lot. They bring the cows down from one of my farms in Scotland.
But isn't it rather dangerous to let tigers roam around the grounds?
No, not really. We're all in bed, myself and all the servants at that time. And if we aren't, we don't go outside. Anyway, as I said, they're quite old now and well fed and probably quite harmless.
But why do you have these tigers?
They belong to my father, Mr. Boot, and were part of my inheritance. He loved the tigers, and because of that, I've kept them. But when they die, I won't get any more.
I was glad to hear that. But have they never given you any problems?
Well, not really. Well, yes, from time to time when they were younger. About 6 years ago, one of them ate one of the servants while he was smoking a cigarette on the forecourt. It was a shame. He was a nice man.
Good God! I exclaimed. But is it legal to have tigers wandering about in a garden in England?
I have no idea, Mr. Boot,
she said.